Hey guys, and welcome, and yes, I am insanely excited to once again be hosting Mad Doc's Faction War. Today, we're going to be looking at 4 quarterfinals and 2 semi-finals of the Faction War. If you haven't seen part 1, we did live stream it last week, and you can see all the factions who have gone through. So if you haven't seen that and don't want spoilers, I recommend hopping back now and checking out what we have to offer. But we have today Vampire Counts versus Skaven, Tomb Kings versus Nagarythe, Empire against High Elves, Bretonnia versus Dwarfs, and we're in for an absolute mad one, lads. I'm very excited. Last stream was so much fun, the Faction War. The fact I could get you guys to vote on who you thought was going to win. And I believe last time chat actually got 50% exactly of the votes correctly. So we are going to be going through the 4 quarterfinals, but then we have the semi-finals as well. You won't see them on here at the moment. I haven't downloaded them yet because I don't want any chance of any spoilers. And in the grand finals of this Faction War will be live streamed next Friday at 6:30 PM BST. And it's going to be best of 3, which is pretty damn good fun. Yes. How are you guys doing today? What's up, Knighthood? I'm live! You are indeed live. You are famous now. We have Human Boy. Yes. I believe Human Boy is actually up in Game 1 as the Skaven up against the Vampire Counts. So it'll be interesting to see who you guys voted for. What's up, Victor? Hope you're going to be having a good time at Potato. I absolutely love the name. CJ, Dono Mike, Grimdorwald. Glad to have you guys here. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch live since I need to leave soon, but I hope you have a great stream. Thank you, man. Your game will be up last as well of the quarterfinals, so you will be representing the Dowie, so trust me, you're going to be a popular man in chat, 100%. I caught the stream, man. Knighthood, you are here right in the nick of time. So let's see who you guys voted for. So, boom. Let's end the poll. The votes did end up. Dun. I'm excited. Let's see. Bam. Come on. Give me the votes. There we go. The Skaven. Oh, you guys think Skaven are going to beat Vampire Counts? Only just, though. 52% of people saying Skaven will be victorious. So chat, go with the sneaky rat boys. And you know what? We're not going to waste any more time. We're just going to hop straight into this and get the carnage underway. So, I believe all the games are played on the same map, at least the 4 quarterfinals, and then the 2 semi-finals we played on a different map to this one. It looks like we're playing on the Lost Vault, and it is Ema, I can't remember how to pronounce this name. It does mean blood in ancient Greek, I believe. He's going to be representing the Vampire Counts up against RTK's very own Human Boy. Yes, as the Skaven up against Counts is a pretty fun matchup. I think Skaven can certainly do some fantastic work here. We're going to have to pop in here and have a little look to see how these players will indeed fare. And my god, is this a beautiful looking map. Look at the scenery of the fallen dwarvish hold surrounded by the woods. Oh, this is a really cool place for our opponents to have that epic showdown for these quarterfinals. Well, on the left-hand side of the flank for the Vampire Counts, we have 2 units, in fact, of Blood Knights. They have very expensive cav to take up against the Skaven, but will be able to dish out the damage to Rat Ogres, Hellpit Abominations, you name it, these boys will rip it asunder. We also have Heinrich Kemmler leading the forces. He, of course, will be coming in with his Krell summon, but alongside that, here's the Invocation of Heck, Raise Dead, and then all his useful trinkets, like the Cloak of Mist and Shadows, as well as the Chaos Tombblade. In the main battle line, we do have zombies dotted all the way along. Cheap, very uncheerful chaff who has summoned up to be human meat shields, basically, and absorb the initial charge damage. We then have a load of skeleton warriors dotted along, including the Sternsman, though, and more Graveguard on this left-hand side. So, a nice central core of Graveguard, flanked by weaker troops. And then right in the very back, we have triple Dire Wolves. Those guys are going to have to get very aggressive to poke into the back of the Skaven army. We have 2 White Kings as well, both coming with Scabascave. Big fan of this pick. They should be able to outduel a lot of the Skaven characters. If they come up against someone like Quick Headtaker, they'd struggle, but apart from that, they're going to be able to drag down heroes and lords alike, particularly when teamed together. And Scabascave, yeah, that's going to certainly roast some rat boys. And look at this. Oh my god, look at the sad face that has been formed by the Skaven with the 2 eyes, the nose, and an unhappy mouth. Let's see what those eyes indeed are. So we have Night Runners mixed in with Gutter Runners. So a nice little skirmish core on both flanks, in fact. Right in the centre, we do indeed have some Rat Ogres. We have Deathmaster Snickage. Ah, yeah. Human Boy, yes. A man of class, culture, and all things sneaky stabbings. We have the Deathmaster himself leading the battle lines. He can certainly get in there and dish out the hurt. And alongside his assassin brother here, they will easily be able to overwhelm those White Kings, as well as Heinrich Kemmler if they're able to catch him. We do have 2 Doom Wheels, one of which is the Wheels of Doom, going to be rolling absolutely dirty and legendary. Look at the little lightning crackle off. These are some really awesome models, backed up by a Plague Priest who no doubt will be coming in with all the summons. Yeah, we have Pestilent Breath, Pestilent Birth, and Vermintide, so all that good stuff. We have a Skaven Slave back line here. Not too much apart from that, so it's really cheap so far on the infantry. Looking for the skirmish and these single entities to carry the day, and that certainly can be a viable tactic up against vampire counts. So are you guys regretting your decisions? I didn't vote, not my fault. I love multiplayer. Watching this has inspired me to try it myself. Best of luck, everyone. Well, Paul Smart, I wish you luck in your endeavour. Hopefully you guys can see. I think I'm always way more cautious when it's replays instead of live streams, because I don't know if you guys are seeing everything perfectly, but hopefully you are, and the battle is underway. Blood Knights streaming out to this left-hand flank, and these Night Runners are not protected. They can simply get run over here. However, they don't want to over-isolate themselves. They're very far away from friendly territory. There is 2 Doom Wheels plus Rat Ogres out here and Assassins. That can do some scary work, but at the moment, the Blood Knights having a whale of a time lancing down the little Rattos. Heinrich Himmler, though, is pinned in place by the Deathmaster. Blood Knights turn around for a thumping counter-charge into the Rat Ogres, doing some lovely damage, but taking huge amounts in return. And now Rival High Talisman has been popped, lowering that melee attack by 40. These guys need to escape. Krell's even been summoned this early to try to pin the enemy in place. Looks like the Rat Ogres have gone down, been eviscerated by the Blood Knights, as well as a zombie summon coming down. But it looks like the Blood Knights themselves will be getting dealt with. Blood Knights on the left-hand side have quite comfortably running over Night Runners. One unit has broken. They will start taking a bit of poison damage, however. A load more sneaky skirmishers have formed in the back, just raining fire down, and the trap has well and truly been sprung here. There's just simply no way for the vampire counts to get in here and save their troops, but the Direwolves are trying their best. They come in 2 by 2, bounding down the ground into the gutter runners, looking to try to scare away the sneaky skirmishers. The main battle line is real slow and ponderous at the moment, just about coming out from the tree line. The Direwolves have hopped on top of the Night Runners. They'll be able to dish out some pretty good hurt to them. However, Night Runners aren't the worst melee combatants. They certainly can duel back rather comfortably. Krell's got in here and done some really lovely damage. He's in fact managed to beat back the Doom Wheel. And it looks like Deathmaster Snickage is in a little bit of a sticky situation. Assassin's Trophy is down on Heinrich Himmler, but he needs to make sure he gets this kill to make it worth it. And oh my god, look at this absolute flustercluck of Doom Wheels, zombies, and assassins. Heinrich needs to run for his life right now. He is taking an absolute beating. He does just about manage to escape with only 1,000 HP popped on him. There's a lot of Night Runners who can apply a ton of pressure. Vargeist are starting to swoop through the skies, coming back into the main fight in the distance. You can see one Doom Wheel is getting at danger low. This battle has just become absolute carnage, and the majority of the Vampire Count force hasn't even really been able to engage. And Heinrich Himmler does get hit with another Deathmaster Sigil. He's crumbling, and he is going to be going down. The Skaven Slaves, the now mighty Skaven Slaves, will be the ones to finish him off. And losing your Lord as a Vampire Count is a horrific loss. One, it's your spellcaster gone as well, but at the same time, just leadership starts to break so drastically, and your forces do crumble. Krell has been an absolute raid boss so far, and now he's trying to dish out the damage to the Deathmaster. But look at the amount of Vampire Count forces just unable to get into this fight due to the quick nature of this Skaven horde. There is one unit of Blood Knights left fighting, down to just 24 models. They are up a pretty impressive amount of kills, but the Wheels of Doom is just rolling through the enemy now. 72 kills, and I don't think there's any enough punch left to stop the Doom Wheel, because all that is left is just infantry. Yeah, we have Graveguard, we do have some Sternsmen as well, and yeah, they can grind for a lot of these Skaven chaff, but 2 Doom Wheels rolling through them, plus the characters. It's going to be a really rough fight now for the Vampire Counts, I believe. You're going to root against the Horned Rat. Human Boy not too happy with you Vampire Count lovers. The zombies, though, trying their best right now to hold back the tide. A beautiful Pestilent Breath is going to come down the line, though, cutting out a lot of the chaff. We still have those Scabascapes to come in. Where are the White Kings? They're kind of troggling behind. They were waiting for their moment to shine, and this is it. If they can get their Scabascapes down, and they did, look at the carnage on those Skaven Slaves. How many kills did that get them each? 141 and 59 kills with a flick of the wrist. But unfortunately for them, you may be able to clear out all this chaffy stuff. There's a lot of single entities left. Deathmaster Sigil does go down to try to pin a White King in place with Assassin's Trophy as well, though he is pushed away by the Doom Wheel. And the White Kings really need to stick with the Graveguard, who can kind of help drag down these single entity creatures as well as the Lords. because otherwise they're going to get isolated and picked apart. You can kind of see the main wrecking ball of the Vampire Count forces is just way too far away, and they have no potential to catch the Night Runners. They're just going to have to absorb the damage, send your zombies their way, send your skeletons, keep the Grave Guard around your leadership. Looks like one Doom Wheel is going down. Maybe we wrote off at the accounts a little bit prematurely here, because Doom Wheel's down, second Doom Wheel's taking significant damage, so is the Assassin, but this White King is just no match for the Death Master, proving once and for all why he is the OG Assassin, the main man. You call if you want someone dead, yes, yes. And now he can simply move on to the second White King. There's not too much this bad boy can do, because all of his help and reinforcements is chasing down Skaven slaves and Skaven skirmishers in the distance. The Wheels of Doom up to 110 kills, pretty impressive work so far. The White King trying his best, but look how quickly his HP gets burst down. Deathmaster really is a glass cannon, but at the moment there's nothing to smash the glass, and he is just a full-on, fully auto cannon right now. With all the leadership dead, Sternsman also get hit by another lovely pestilent breath there. And it looks like the Vampire Count has fallen, and chat in their wisdom once again is correct in their assumption that the Skaven shall be victorious. Only 52% though said Skaven were going to win, but Skaven did win indeed. So they will be moving on to the semi-final today. And that was a pretty dominant victory, I think, coming in by Human Boy. Well played, though, to the Vampire Count and Aimer as well. I think he did a really good job considering what he had. He got that initial engagement actually went pretty good for him on the left-hand side. But the rest of his forces were too slow and ponderous, and you can't overextend with your cavalry, lords, and so forth if you are Vampire Counts, because you could get trapped. And Skaven, one of the best at those sneaky tactics. So big shout out to Human Boy, yes, yes, for putting in a fabulous performance as always. So guys, I'm going to quickly put up the poll for the next game, and then we'll get into the damage dealt and damage value of all of these glorious units here. High Elf is playing against Empire. I believe we actually have two High Elf players, because one of them is the sub-faction. You do tend to have a sub-faction in these type of events because of a odd number of factions. So who will win? Let's see who's coming for game 2. So it shall be Tomb Kings versus Nagarythe. I think it's traditionally High Elf favoured this matchup, so it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. So put that poll up and then come back. I do not ask they bow, I ask they die. Elves shall never bow before the rats. Oh, we got a bit of fighting talk coming in here. But up next, it shall be Tomb Kings versus Nagarythe, which I'm very excited to see who comes out on top in that one. So let's quickly check all the damage dealt, damage value, and all that good stuff before we move on to the next game. Heinrich Kemmler, the man, the myth, the undead, not so undead legend, coming in with 369 damage value. So nothing too crazy there. The White Kings, again, pretty pitiful damage value, though 141 and 59 kills is pretty hilarious, considering that basically all came from those Scavascapes. And yeah, the infantry just didn't get in the fight, just could not get to grips with this Skaven build. And this is one of the problems Vampire Counts can struggle with, is being, kited around, dragged into bad situations. Well, from there, your opponent can kind of really pounce on you. He did a good job initially with the Blood Knights, but 1.3k damage value is not bad. 1.1 again, not terrible. But the rest of the build simply couldn't perform, despite the fact he had the triple Direwolves and the Vargeist for that mobile Cortez build. I think he was assuming the Skaven would go for more of a defensive box approach, but Human Boy certainly fought out of the box here and came in with a glorious victory. Deathmaster Snickich, 2,169 damage value. I'm just going to give a little round of applause there. That was insane. That was just top-notch assassin work. Killed Heinrich Kemmler pretty much. I mean, he netted him for the last bit, but also burst damaged him quite badly and killed both the White Kings. That is a 3-0 victory for the Deathmaster, who's basically still full health. 396 damage value on the other assassin. Not quite so good at getting to grips with his targets, but the Rival High Talisman really did help out. And without the Rival High Talisman, the Blood Knights honestly might be able to solo a lot of what Human Boy chucked at his opponent. 2,095 damage value on the Plague Priest with some really well-placed attacks to clear out some of the chaff as well as the Sternsmen. The skirmishers did okay, particularly this unit of Gutter Runners, 1,176 damage value, 51 kills, good work by them. Radugers got slaughtered, 762 damage value on the Doom Wheels, and 1,742 on this second one. The Wheels of Doom performing absolutely fabulously, 126 kills, 13k damage dealt, and in the end game there, despite the White Kings being alive, it was basically game over because Human Boy is a player who's got very good micro, so he would simply just keep rolling the Wheels of Doom through all that infantry till it died, and he can kite over everything else as he does so. When he runs out of ammo, just pour in one unit after the next to try to hold the enemy. Is the summons damage and damage value added to the cast? Unfortunately not, Carp. I wish it was, because you don't get to see how much damage value someone like Krell did. It's the same thing with Malice Darkblade when he turns into Zarkan, or Tazarkan, however you want to pronounce it, his demon form. He has damage value for each form, but it doesn't combine it, which is really frustrating. I wish they do at some point. So, pretty good first game there. So it looks like the Skaven will be moving through, but standing in their way in the next round could be one of these players. I'm not actually sure how the bracket's lining up, but we will have Honeynut on the forces of the Tomb Kings up against Arkin and the Nagarythe forces. So last time we watched the Nagarythe perform, Arkin played very well, and he actually, it was an interesting game. He was up against Wood Elves, which was very highly favoured, but it was a super close, probably my favourite game, I think, of last stream, and he came with a very themed Alpha Shadow Warrior style build, which could prove pretty good up against the Tomb Kings. There's a big threat here, though, that Honeynut could bring 3 or 4 skeleton chariots and just start running rampage over the High Elf force. So before we load in, let's have a little look at what you guys assumed was going to win, who you thought was going to win this one. Chat did get the first one correct. Very proud of you guys, very proud of you. And let's see you guys voted for this time. Dun dun, dun dun. I'm tense. I'm very tense. It is, oh my god. Oh my god. 71% for Nagarythe. You guys are just pooping on the Tomb Kings right now. Only 28% think the Tomb Kings are going to do well. That is disastrous. Yo, 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 what's up, Mad Doc Mike? The man, the myth, the legend, the guy who actually organised this whole event. Hope you're a very good man. We haven't got to your game just yet. No one thinks Tomb Kings will win? Oh, my poor Tomb Kings. Was it you, Potato, who played? Or was it, you would say, a lover of the Tomb Kings? Oh, it's Honeynut, so. Let's hop in here. Boom. Going into game 2. And just a little recap for you guys who did miss the round 1 of this event, which was live streamed last week. Players are allowed up to 2 Ogre units in their army, and I'm all for it. I don't think Ogres really make anything stupidly unbalanced, and some factions like Dwarfs, it's really funny to see them with cavalry. And it looks like we do have 2 units of the Mournfang cavalry who have been brought in as mercenaries for the High Elf forces. And they look so cool. I'm really excited for the models in Total War Warhammer 3, all the DLCs we're going to get, and just because the models have been getting better and better since Total War Warhammer 1, and the Mournfang Cavalry are no exception. They are horrifically glorious looking beasties, armor-piercing, armoured, and I would argue the Mournfang Cavalry are probably the best of the Ogre Mercenaries at the moment. A lot of the other units are quite expensive. For the main battle line, we do have Spearmen as well as Silvern Guard, so not too light. I mean, Silvern Guard are mid-tier infantry, enchanted armour, anti-large. They can certainly dish out the damage, and I think the reason behind bringing them here, apart from the fact they're going to be able to out-duel a lot of the Tomb King infantry, is Casket of Souls do magic damage, and they can be a big pain to the High Elf forces. And their colour scheme is so cool. I've got to admit, I'm rooting for Nagarythe right now, simply based off the colours they're bringing here. We have a load of archers, 1, 2, 3, 4 it seems, in that central pocket, backed up as well by some Lothran Sea Guard, 2 units of them, so a load of cheap range coming in. Up in the sky, we do have an Archmage of High Magic on a Moon Dragon. I'm a big fan of Archmages in general, haven't played as High Elves too much in a long time, but yeah, I think Archmages are a solid pick. Anything which combines your Lord and Caster into one, particularly on something as hard-hitting as a dragon, tends to be good in my book, with Arcane Conduit, Soul Quench, and Apotheosis. So pretty cheap on the spells, but you are paying for that big, juicy dragon. On the other side of the battlefield is the Tomb King Legions, and it looks like Cetra has come out to play on his mighty Kitty Catty. So we have Skeleton Warriors dotted through the front line, backed up by Tomb Guard. The Tomb Guard gonna fare pretty good, I think, up against this Elvish build, if they can avoid being obliterated by Bowfire. We have the Eyes of the Desert, the Regiment Renowned Sneaky Snakes here in the front line. Not only do they look fantastic, they have really good anti-large. If that Archmage gets caught slipping for a second, they will eviscerate her in just a few moments. We do have some of the knights in the back as well. 1, 2 it seems, which is a nice little pair in here with the sneaky snakes themselves. We have some horsemen as well on the right-hand flank. And again, leading the force is Settra the Imperishable. Coming on his second most expensive mount. He's actually more expensive on his chariot, believe it or not. And he's coming in with the Wrath of Petra. We have the Incantation of Desiccation and the Incantation of Protection, which are some of the best spells, I think, for Settra in general. Curse Blades is also really good. It's cheap, it's cheerful, and it gets the job done. And once again, we're on this beautiful map. Look at this little opening. This would be such an epic place to actually have a showdown and fight. What if they just bumped into each other, or they're like, you know what, this is the meeting place, we're going to come fight here. Too rainy and thundery, so came back early from dog walk. Oh man, it is raining here so hard. It is raining here so hard. But yes, just pulling your leg. Tomb Kings have felt really weak for a while for me. Tomb Kings are an interesting one. I think one of the reasons they're considered as bad as they are is no one really names them at the moment, at least in the competitive tournament scene. King of the Dead, I think, is making a bit of a return. But yeah, they're not super amazing at the moment. Certainly not one of the worst factions in the game, or the worst faction in the game. I think Norska, High Elves, and Tomb Kings are all relatively in the lower portion, but can certainly do it on a good day, particularly in these tournaments. I've seen a load of people win with High Elves before, and a lot of top-tier players still play these factions. Soul Quench goes down, aiming at the... I don't know if that was aiming at Settra and accidentally caught the Tomb God, but that was a beautiful shot right down the line, doing some massive damage to these guys and already killing 15 models. Impressive stuff. Those Desert did a sneak forward, just have a little lick at the Archmage if she came too close, but they're having to fall back now, and the march of the High Elves is well and truly upon us. I'm very interested to see how the Mournfang Cavalry fare. They could struggle up against this really heavy snake build, but we'll have to wait and see. The longer the early stages go on, the better for the High Elves. They're simply going to save up more Winds of Magic and start doing these damage spells. Soul Quench can be quite powerful in the long game if you continuously cast it. I'm very interested to see where these breath attacks come in. I think aiming for the Tomb Guard is probably going to be the best bet. Settra will be a raid boss here. There's nothing he shall fear apart from fear itself and all these arrows. So if he can avoid the arrows and get into that back line, sneak in with the cavalry, then I think the Tomb King player could be in with a good chance of winning this. The problem is, the cavalry is simply outmatched by the Mournfang Cavalry, and one thing the High Elf player is doing right now is he's keeping them in reserve, which I love, forcing the Tomb Kings into this bottleneck, and you can see the shield wall, Spartan style, has been formed, and this is going to be a bit of a nightmare for the Tomb Kings. They need to bust through this as quickly as possible, or move around the flanks, and it looks like he's thrown everything down the middle, apart from one unit of Skeleton Warriors, and they're simply going to be dispatched by Mournfang Cavalry if they go isolated and alone, but it looks like Horsemen will be moving around to try and support them. Settra needs to come up with a plan here to really force his way through the front line as quickly as possible, and it looks like his main plan is, I'm going to walk directly through you, and it's a pretty successful plan. Move straight through the Sovereign Guard here. A big, oh my god, look at that breath attack, that is so juicy, down the line onto the Tomb Guards, that unit getting eviscerated. We're also going to be seeing a spell come in here. I wonder what this is it Incantation? It is, Incantation of Desiccation going down, that's hoping to allow the Skeleton Spearmen to bang through the Sovereign Guard rather quickly. Snakes as well, I love this, the switcher formation to enable them to swoop through the gap. Settra as well, again, super aggressive and running dirty. The cavalry as well, look at them funneling through these gaps. Really beautiful Tomb King play here, and also on the back line could well be compromised. The Archmage is going to be lining up another Soul Quench, going down at the Skeleton Spearmen, doing some good work there. Mournfang Cavalry are desperately going to be trying to plug the gaps here, as the snakes are well and truly amongst the archers now. Incantation Protection goes down, as the Snake versus Mournfang Cavalry fight does indeed kick off. Settra probably wants to get back here and help out his fellow snakies, but the dragon is coming in with a risky attack. Settra the Imperishable is no joke in combat whatsoever, and will easily be able to beat a Moondragon, but there are Spearmen support. Some Tomb Guard are slowly starting to catch up, and it looks like Settra is more focused on going after the archers, which isn't the worst idea at the end of the day. Actually, he might be going after the cavalry here, and the Moondragon is going to be continuously getting these cycle charge hits. Cavalry has forced its way into the back line. These archers are going to be running for their lives in a matter of seconds here. Really good play to bust open, but the Ogre Mercenaries are doing a really good job of pinning in a lot of the Tomb King pressure right now, and we do finally have Settra versus the Moondragon. And it looks like the Moondragon is heard my words, I've heard its pride, and now it's hitting Settra really hard. He does indeed do fire damage, so Settra has the fire weakness. Incantation of Protection does go down, however. And the Moondragon is making me eat my words. Look at him dispatch Settra. It's just another Sunday for the Archmage, and he's having a whale of time at the moment, up to 96 kills. Poor Cetra is getting the absolute snot beat out of him. We do have more Tomb Guard. Some of these elite units are forced their way into the back line. The Eyes of the Desert need to come in here and aid Cetra. Get some long-range shots on the Archmage. Fall back with Cetra to friendly territory. We do have a Ushopti summon. That's going to be good enough to shut down the Lothran Sea Guard, at least for a very long time. And in the back, archers have been finished off, but the Mournfang Cavalry are making the snakes pay for it dearly. Cetra once again being hounded by this Moondragon. If only Ninja was here to watch this. He's a member of DBD who does have a big fondness for dragons. And the Moondragon is eviscerating Cetra. It looks like Incantation of Desiccation is going down now, catching all of these units, but Cetra is so close to breaking. He has to run backwards now to the Eyes of the Desert and pray that they can burst down the dragon quick enough. They are starting to get in some relatively solid shots at the moment. Tomb Guard are winning the front line eventually, although a lot of the skeleton spearmen are struggling. Horsemen as well are bouncing between Lothran Sea Guard and archers, but not able to find a home fully. Ushopti being broken down here, even as the Mournfang Cavalry are debuffed. Cetra manages to terrify away some archers. Balance power is very heavily in Nagarythe's favour. Chat, you guys are like prophets today. 2 out of 2. What is this? This isn't my chat. This is some kind of imposter chat. My chat gets these things wrong. You guys are on fire today, because I don't think there's any way here for the Tomb Kings to come back into this. Cetra has 1,100 health. He's going up against the Mournfang Cavalry. He'll certainly dish out the damage, but they're armor piercing, and they don't take any prisoners either. These ogres leave last Friday, so feel free to go check that out as well. Today, we're doing the quarterfinals and semi-finals of the Faction War. We're on Game 2 right now, and we'll be moving on to the finals on Friday, which will be live streamed as a best of 3, which I'm very excited to do. Well played to both Arkan and Honey Nut, but the Tomb Kings must bow out to the High Elves. Many consider them weak, but they made it through to the semi-final, and there's still another High Elf player in this, because there is always one sub-faction added to Faction Wars due to the fact there's not enough factions to make it even, and it was Elves, and the Elves have actually performed really well so far in this Faction War. And let's have a little look. Oh my god. Oh, the damage value in this Archmage is insane, but we'll get to all of the damage dealt and damage value in just a second. Let's quickly put up a poll to see who is going to win the next game, or at least have you guys vote there. Among Us chat. Yeah, the chat's pretty sus, man. The chat's pretty sus. So, let's add up a little poll. Who will win? So, you guys guessed correctly. In the first game, which was you said Skaven were going to beat Vampire Counts, and they did. The next game, you said Nagarythe was going to beat Tomb Kings, and they did. But up next, we have the Empire. And then we have the High Elves. So honestly, whatever you guys say is just probably true. So feel free to vote, guys, while we go through the damage dealt and damage value. And then we will be hopping into the next game. So, well played to Arkan, well played to Honey Nut, which is, in fairness to him, a pretty tough matchup. And I'm really liking these maps. It kind of feels like a choke point tournament, because we had that in the first set of games as well. And it's kind of the same this time. We've seen a lot of weird places where people are having to like force their way through gaps. And the High Elves certainly starting to take advantage of that with that stalwart wall of shields and spears to pin in the enemy, keep them away, and allow the archers to dish out the damage. One thing I was a big fan of, though, was the use of the Mournfang Cavalry, who are both pretty much full health. 700 and 800 damage value doesn't seem crazy, but there's something High Elves lack: high mass cavalry to pin in the enemy and protect the archer back line. Archmage High Magic, though, was certainly MVP. 3,011 damage value, 14k damage dealt, 102 kills, soul quenching, breath attacking. I think she only ended up using 2 breath attacks, so the damage value really could have been off the wall if the Tomb King army had held for a bit longer. Spearmen across the board and Silvern Guard not getting the craziest damage value, but their job here was to hold the enemy back. The archers, yeah, you know, nothing crazy damage value wise. The best one kind of 862, 741, but they did enough. They assassinated the key targets, and etc. Simply wasn't able to deal with that fire-breathing dragon. The weakness to fire really did hurt him quite badly there. 720 damage value, certainly not paying for himself. And yeah, the front line really suffered quite poorly, even the more elite Tomb Guard. One thing I really liked what Honey Nut did, though, was change his formation to a smaller face in front so he could fit through the gaps. And he did manage to swarm into the back line multiple times, but it was in drips and drabs rather than as one big solid attack. And that allowed Arkan to stabilize his battle lines and keep it all together. Keep it all together. I am for High Elves, but guessing voted Empire. Please prove me wrong. I mean, whatever chat votes comes true. Whatever chat votes comes true. So, let's see what's going to happen. So, let's look who is in the next game. So, it's Empire versus High Elves. It is Mr. Tefel himself. I'm so sorry, I'm probably butchering your name there, but he's actually sent me some replays recently, so you may well see him up on the channel sometime soon, against Odd Ratio and the forces of the Empire. So High Elves versus Empire is an interesting one. There's lots of nasty stuff Empire can do with Hellstorm rocket batteries and grenade launchers, which are notoriously good up into the High Elves, but I'm sure we're going to see some tricks or two up the sleeves of the Elvish folk, as we've seen in the game just before this one. So let's see what you guys vote for. Who do you think's going to win? Dun 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 dun. No, chat's going to be wrong for once, says Potato. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's have a little look what you guys voted for. I think, if I had a vote, I'm not going to vote actually, because I'm meant to be casting here, so I'm going to be impartial. Though I think it does favour Empire, sorry. 66% of you guys agree with me. You think it favours Empire. So, oof, that's rough for the High Elves, only 33%. I think we had worse ratio in the game before, however, so maybe they can prove us wrong. Let's hop in here and have a little look. Tefel is unbeatable. I'm just in time, says Victor. Yes, I believe, Victor, you are Mr. Tefel, correct? Thank you for your replays recently, by the way. Oh my god, it's a triple Dragon Prince build! Oh, hell yeah, this is going to be one hell of a rock and roll affair. Odd Ratio coming in with Karl Franz versus Alarielle. Should be a good fun one. So let's put this game into slow motion. We get to see the battlefield from the other point of view, which is pretty damn cool. It seems like all the players are assigned to deploy on this left-hand flank of the battlefield. I don't know if that's just because this is where the deployment zone is, or if they all want to take the high ground. You never really want to deploy too much on the low ground. There's a few instances where you do, actually. I had a Dwarf game recently that I uploaded to the channel where I deliberately took the low ground to enable Thunderers to have a really good line of sight. But yeah, for most time, high ground is better. Listen to Obi-Wan Kenobi. So for the front line of the High Elves, it is a bucket ton of dual-wielding maniacs, the Rangers. They come forth from the forests of Ulthuan to dish out the hurt, and they'll certainly chew their way through state troops with deadly efficiency. These guys are damage dealers, they have Forest Strider and all that good stuff, so if they do end up getting caught up in the trees, they won't care whatsoever. Triple Dragon Princes is pretty much as bad as to the bone as you can get from the High Elf forces, and Triple Dragon Princes with Alarielle is pretty common and very good, because Alarielle comes in with Earthblood as well as the Star of Avalon to heal them up quite nicely. She also is coming in with Fast Protection and Tempest. Cool little toolkit, I like it quite a bit. We do have a Mage of Light coming with Shem's Burning Gaze as well as the Nets. That's quite a lot of spells. We have 5 spells total, but I do like the versatility this will perform. Not so convinced on the Shem's Burning Gaze, but it's probably brought to deal with artillery pieces, something it will be very good at handling. We do have Lothran Seaguard, 1, 2, and 3 in the back to be a little bit of missile support. In fact, 4 units of Lothran Seaguard. Massive fan of this build, it looks super fun. For the forces of the Empire, we do have state troops, of course, in the front line, including the Sigma Sons, though. So Spearmen, yeah, they're going to do okay. They're going to hold the line in the name of Sigma for a little while. The Sigma Sons will die in the name of Sigma. They're the true simps of Sigma, and they'll give it a good go as much as possible. Just behind them, though, we do have some Huntsmen. Huntsmen very good in this matchup because they can trade pretty cost-effectively against most Elvish forces, and all around those Dragon Princes will have to be very careful of them, including the Silver Bullets as well. We do have Empire Knights, so the bog standard triple Empire Knights escorting a Jade Wizard coming flesh to stone, interesting choice, as well as Regrowth. They don't want to tussle with the Dragon Princes. They will very easily be outmatched, but we do have a Mortar and a Great Cannon in the back here, protected by some Spearmen. That cannon needs to start picking off Dragon Prince units as quickly as possible. And up in the sky, we have the Emperor Karl Franz, dual wielding his Runefang and Gar Morales. Can be looking to try to bring the pain to the Elvish forces, and if he can tussle Alarielle, he will certainly slaughter her. Probably could do it in his sleep, but there is Tempest at play, so if he gets Tempested and picked off by the Lothran Seaguard, he could be in big trouble. Luckily for him, he has the Regrowth, and likewise Alarielle needs to be careful. Huntsman will dish out the damage to her quite quickly. Overcast Tempest does come down on the Franzmeister. That's going to be some pretty solid damage. He can, of course, be healed up. But do you really want to waste a Regrowth this early on? It's one of those tough decisions you have to make in the game. Alarielle. Oh, deployment zone. Thank you. L'Oreal is falling back at the moment, but she's getting clipped as well. You can see her kind of staggering. The stagger animations may actually help her a little bit. Silver bullets as well, starting to lace her full of bullets. Not having a good time. Rangers are starting to push forward. Mortar focusing down the Lothran Seaguard is a really good pick in my my mind. Karl Franz looking to maybe float out over here and engage with the Dragon Princes. I mean, it's not the worst idea, but there is Lothran Seaguard support as well. Luckily, we have Empire Knights nearby and Huntsmen, so yeah, maybe he wants to actually take this fight, and it looks like he is going to be doing it. Coming in with the Runefang and Garmirage, trying to hunt down the Dragon Princes. This unit on the left did try to fall back, but yeah, you're not going to be able to escape this. L'Oreal might want to start dropping some buffs down here. Fast protection could be quite nice. Huntsmen are starting to rain fire in, but the Dragon Princes seem to be holding firm for now. And it looks like we do get a Nerve Ammentok down on Karl Franz, and their bow fire is pretty heavy coming in from the Seaguard, plus a Star of Avalon coming down onto the Dragon Princes to keep them alive and happy. We need to see a regrowth go down on Karl Franz. Instead, though, we do have a Flesh of Stone at the moment. Rangers are slowly chinning their way through the front line. Even the Sigma Suns are going down quite quickly. There's a load of Spearmen in support, though, who can come into the main fray. It looks like the Empire player really trying to micromanage over out on this left-hand side. Karl Franz did manage to dispatch a serious number of those Dragon Princes, even though they did get the heal, and can now get back up into the skies and fall back. Likewise, seems like the Empire Knights weren't really getting anywhere. They don't have great AP and struggled up against the Dragon Prince's thick elvish armor. In the back burners, we have Dragon Princes swooping in. They came through the swamps all the way up around this side. Empire Knights will countercharge them, and we do have Spearmen here to support, but this is probably a dead mortar crew. They need to drop those mortars and start running instantly through their own troops if they want to try and stay alive here. Dragon Princes taking considerable damage, though. Spearmen as well fighting in the trees isn't helping them out too much. We do see a fast protection go down on them, trying to keep them alive and healthy. Rangers doing a fantastic job clearing out the Spearmen and Sigma Suns in the front line, though the central core of this high elf build is completely happy right now to just rain down fire on the Spearmen and Empire Knights. It looks like Dragon Princes have been dispatched, though. Only 3 kills on them. Silver Bullets are struggling to get their line of sight. They're not quite on the brow of the hill, but they are doing just enough to finish off those Dragon Princes. Where's the mighty Franz? He's in the back here, looking to try to deal with these Dragon Princes, though he does get hit with a Tempest. Counterpunch, though, does come in with the regrowth, and now he is well and truly amongst the princes. And this is what an emperor is to a prince. He is death incarnate, slaughtering Dragon Princes there on the land. Great Cannon that's still alive and happy. Probably, I would honestly start doing some risky shots at L'Oreal. Keep your opponent honest and keep that micromanagement going for him. L'Oreal could swoop out over onto the Jade Wizard, but needs to be careful. Karl Franz is nearby, and Karl Franz is destruction at the moment, up to 26 kills. Doing a good job. Flesh of Stone's being popped. A big cannon shot reaps through those Dragon Princes. Oh my god, that's in some really good damage value. But the Empire frontline has crumbled. Sigma Suns will be dying in the name of Sigma today. And it looks like Silver Bullets are about to be overrun by some Dragon Princes. Really good pressure so far with the cavalry from the High Elf player. Silver Bullets just about reacting in time, falling back behind the Spearmen, as well as some Huntsman support. And rather wisely, the Dragon Prince is going to give up that pursuit and retreat. But that does mean getting shot in the rear by the Silver Bullets. So they either want to commit or whip round back through this bit of terrain, which can be used as a shot blocker. I'm certainly thinking of actually bringing some of these maps into tournament play. I mean, it's not super balanced, but at the same time, I love the idea of these shot blockers and stuff being involved with your tactical thinking. Dragon Princes are slaughtering Silver Bullets and will soon overrun the Silver Helms as well. The Jade Wizard, though, is being forced off by L'Oreal. This is a really close game, probably the closest one we've had so far. Great Cannon still online and firing in. The big problem here is there's so many Rangers. Jade Wizard is really struggling right now, and the Jade Wizard needs to survive for the regrowths. It looks like we are going to be getting a Flesh to Stone. There's a regrowth coming down in Karl Franz. The Wizard perhaps thinking, my time is now, I see the light, and I need to pop off magic while I still can and keep Karl Franz as healthy as possible. Rangers are going to just simply ignore the Jade Wizard right now and Franz and try to push through onto the Great Cannon. This is beautiful micro by the High Elf player right now, just forcing his way through. Jade Wizard is being dealt with by L'Oreal as Karl Franz was busy again up into the sky. Balanced power is in favour of the High Elves at the moment, but not by much, as their ammunition is starting to dwindle a little bit. But loading this back unit here, and it looks like Dragon Princes were successful in shattering the Silver Bullets. That is a big victory right there for the High Elves. And the Huntsmen are now engaged in combat with Rangers and Dragon Princes. And it looks like the High Elves are doing... Oh no! No, no! The High Elves are doing so good! What's happening? L'Oreal! Fast protection goes down on her, but she gets... Oh, she's terrified and running away. Being terrified may well have saved her life there. Because when you're terrified or broken, your model will use the physically fastest way out of a situation. It's the hardest to pin it in that time. So it did actually allow Alarielle to get up into the sky as quick as physically possible for her. And now she can fall back. That could have been disastrous. If Karl Franz had managed to take her down, he could have landed in all of this and perhaps broken it due to terror. But the trap has now been sprung. Alarielle did decide, you know what, I'm going to fall back a little bit. Pop a nest of Ammontok down on Karl Franz. And start loading up the shots right here. We do have a Star of Avalon go down. It will catch Alarielle. It does catch units in the sky as well. And yeah, the Lothran Seaguard really are starting to lay it on thick. Flesh of Stone was popped on Karl Franz. He's got 160 armor. And he really did absorb a lot of that damage, but he has now landed. Going after the Rangers, will be able to break them quite comfortably. But there's a lot of Sea Guards still left alive here. Dragon Princes are swarming once again from the trees. Jade Wizard is trying to fall back at the moment. The hope of the Empire is in the hands of its Emperor. Karl Franz needs to Mad Lad solo this if they want a chance of victory. Looks like they're just trying to clear up a lot of these units on the periphery. Keep that Jade Wizard alive. Allow Karl Franz to get another regrowth at some point. And then maybe, just maybe, if he can shut down the archers, there is hope. Foeseeker has been popped. Spearmen are going to be holding the Dragon Princes in place. They are the anvil, and the Emperor here is the hammer. Karl Franz coming in, terrifying away these elite Dragon Princes. Down to 21 models. They still got a decent amount of punch on them, despite their low HP. Alarielle has managed to heal herself up quite nicely right now. Now, army losses is getting very near. It's a real threat right now. The Empire needs to get some big wins quickly. Franz assassinating Alarielle probably is the only way into this. Lothran Seaguard, though, these back two units still have a lot of ammunition. If it was just these front ones left, the Karl Franz may be able to carry this and solo it. But look how much rounds they still have. 9 rounds of ammunition, 8 rounds of ammunition. Karl Franz taking an absolute beating now. Flesh of Stone has gone off. He's really going after Alarielle's booty, but he's had to resign and go after the Mage of Light instead. Absolutely walloping him miles and miles. Due to that, Karl Franz has committed to the fight. Alarielle simply going to swan away over to the far distance, probably looking to assassinate that Jade Wizard and finish her off for good. Karl Franz does have Garmaraz popped, stand your ground, right on Runefang, but he is but a man at the end of the day, and men can bleed, and if they can bleed, they can be killed. The Emperor is going to fall back to lick his wounds. A Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the High Elves, and we have 2 High Elves into the semi-final. I absolutely love it. Man, that was probably my favourite game so far. Well played to both these champs. Odd ratio as well, bowing out of the tournament, but doing really good to get this far. Winning that quarter-final in impressive fashion. And pin up a pretty damn good fight here. But the High Elves shall be victorious. And shall show their general. We'll look through the damage dealt and damage value on all that glorious stuff in just a second. Before we get to that, I will put up the vote for the final quarter-final of today. Nice trap for Franz there. Oh, yeah. That was scary. That was scary. I thought there was going to be a Vindictive as well. Fire! Reload! Fire! Human Boy, yes, yes. Coming in with the facts and knowledge that we need. GG says Pathfinder. Indeed, man. Indeed. Isn't Pathfinder like a D&D style game? Or am I just going insane? That's also quite possible. So far, chat, out of 3 games, have predicted 3 correct. You guys have been correct. Oh, wait. Did you vote for High Elves that time? No, you voted for Empire. No, chat was wrong. Okay, I need to write this down. So currently, it is 2-1 to chat, though. You guys are doing good. But it's a little stumbling block. So up next, who will win? We do have the mighty forces of Bretonnia, who are heavy underdogs in this matchup because they're against the Dwarfs. This is notoriously a really terrible situation for Bretonnia. But don't let that sway your vote. Vote with your heart, not your mind. Always vote High Elves. Good stream. Thank you, man. I'm glad you're enjoying, dude. It's been pretty fun so far. If you guys are enjoying, by the way, make sure to leave a thumbs up and all that good stuff. It really does help support the stream. And subscribe if you're new. Anyway, on to the glorious action. The real reason we're here, the glory. Alarielle the Radiant did get 1,359 damage value. Not shabby whatsoever, considering her main role is in that support mode. Came in with some really clutch healing, and the Mage of Light as well. Only 10 damage value, but those nets were pretty clutch and key. Rangers did a good job. I mean, yeah, the damage value is not going to be insane. Last two units kind of proved me wrong, though. 970 and 860 damage value, but it's the kills. 68, 120, 99, 156, 155. By clearing out that much of the state troops, not only does it enable you to get into the enemy back line, it also saves the Dragon Princes. They can simply, do their own thing. They don't have to worry about this huge amount of infantry because it's already been cleared. Lothran Seaguard did fantastic. 1.2 damage value on the first one, 938, 698, and 763. Just raining fire down. Some of them had pretty decent ammunition at the end, and they're not the worst melee combatants. The Dragon Princes only 209 damage value on this first unit, assassinated by the Emperor, but 1,500 on the second one, with an impressive 168 kills, 14k damage dealt, and 1,675 on this last unit with 96 kills. Really good work. I'm very impressed with this high force. I wonder if the Elves are against each other in the semi-final. I wouldn't have thought so, but we'll have to wait and see. As for the mighty Karl Franz, 1,867 damage value. Really not bad considering he was trying to carry this game on his back in the later stages of the battle. The Jade was well, of course, only here for the healing. The infantry got absolutely roasted, just sliced and diced. Those Rangers really did feast upon their souls. Huntsman did a bit better, 620 damage value, 517, 800 on the silver bullets. The Empire Knights, though, really could not compete with the Dragon Princes. Mortars, 352, Great Cannon, 850. I was very impressed with Odd Ratio being able to keep his Great Cannon online as long as he did. I think he did a really good job there, but he will be bowing out, and the High Elves move on. So up next, we do have Shogunuk leading the forces of the Dwarfs up against Mad Doc Mike and the Bretonnian forces. Every time I think of Mad Doc, I think of a Mad Doc from like Greenskins in 40k. I used to play a game called Dawn of War, and you could get like a Mad Doc, and every time I see Mad Doc's name, I think of that little guy and want to do the voice. That may be complete nonsense to some of you, but yeah, Dawn of War was a really epic game back in the day, big part of my childhood. Damn, these rats are everywhere. Man, yeah, Human Boy's doing good, man. He's made it through so far to the semi-final. You think Dwarfs will win? Mm-hmm. High Elves versus... Oh, yeah, yeah. Human Boy does have some inside knowledge. That is true, that is true. So, let's quickly see what you guys, who you guys assumed would win. Oh my, that's the most one-sided poll I've ever seen! That was insane! Was that 90% Dwarfs? Let's have a little look. Yeah, 90% Dwarfs, 1% Skaven somehow, and 9% Bretonnia. It is based on the Mad Docs from 40k. That's amazing. Man, 90% Dwarfs. Well, if you guys get this wrong, you're going to look like fools, I'm telling you that. But I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I love Mad Dog Mike. I hope he is able to be... I mean, Shogunuk is a really cool dude as well, actually. I think he's been sending me replays recently, so we'll probably see him up on the channel quite a bit. If you guys do want to submit replays, there's links down below to my Discord and all that good stuff where you can do just that. So let's pop this into slow-mo once again on this beautiful map. I really can't get over the maps. They're very glorious looking. This is what I'm about. The Dwarfs coming to defend one of their old ruins and going to be giving it their best go. But we are looking from the point of view of Bretonnia, and it looks like we have gone for the famed triple field trebuchet build, one of which is certainly on the high ground up here on the left-hand side, one in the centre, and one all the way far right. Front line shall be made up of rather terrified peasant mobs. Imagine if you're a peasant, you get yucked from your home, got asked to form a fjord, and just go to battle. It'd be pretty terrifying. We're Foot Squires. Foot Squires are one of these kind of units which burn my mind and make me go crazy because they're anti-infantry, they're armor-piercing. You'd expect them to do amazing up against factions like Chaos and Dwarfs, but then you take into account they have pretty pitiful stats. 26 melee attack, 24 melee defense. They can struggle up against units like Longbeards. We do have the Fey Enchantress. She's, I was about to say on foot, but she's kind of floating, but no mount option at least. She's doing that kind of WandaVision thing with her hands where they float back and forth. Come with Shield of Thorns and Earthblood. We also have some Peasant Bowmen with Pox Arrows looking to slow down the Dwarfs even more than they... Dwarfs aren't particularly fast, so they are dangerous over short distances. We have two Paladins, both which are in the skies, who are looking to assassinate characters where possible. And we have two units of Mournfern Cavalry. Performed rather well in a game we saw earlier, although that was mainly to pin in troops. But they're armor piercing. Let's actually see how much. Yeah, that's pretty decent. 84 armor pierce from these big old tusks. They might be a good pick here, and this could swing the matchup maybe to being a bit more even than we've seen it currently. As for the forces of the Dwarfs, it is a rather large dwarvish force, actually, of 1,142 armoured geezers. And when you're outnumbered by the Dwarfs, particularly when you're like Bretonnia and you've gone wide, it's very scary. We have Dwarf warriors dotted all the way along the main battle line, so cheap, cheerful, but they do a job. They kill peasants for days and hold the battle line. Ekron miners just behind them. Then we have a load of quarrelers, including all of our raiders, who can lower the resistance, missile resistance on armor and stuff of units, which is a nice combo there with the gunners in the back. We have Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons Guard on the flanks. We have Dragonback Slayers, Thunderers mixed in as well with Quarrelers in the central pocket. I like the fact he's included at least 2 Thunderers to help deal with the Knights whilst the Quarrelers deal with the Peasants. And leading the line, oh, this is glorious. We have Ungrim Iron Fist. Probably my favourite Dowie Lord. He's just so cool. He's coming in completely naked and 120 armour, but as far when I say completely naked, I mean no abilities or items. But you know, he's relatively cheap, unbreakable, will do good against cavalry. And with a Master Engineer, firing a Foray and Flash Bomb, plus the added ammunition, which will probably be popped on the Ekron miners, I would assume, after they've used their blast and charges. Looks like the Dwarfs actually deployed quite low down. They went for the low ground for some reason, but now they're going to be wheeling up and around, and they're trying to take the fight once again to this choke point where, even though they've got more numbers, they've probably also got more elite troops in the front line at least. They can pin in the peasants, slaughter them, and then force their way back onto those field trebuchets. But the map may help Bretonnia a little bit. There's no long-range artillery to counterfire the field trebuchets, and I'm actually a big fan of this dwarvish build, going no artillery up against Bretonnia. I think it's one of those factions you want to get stuck into, get aggressive. It's the same up against Dark Elves. I think artillery is a bit of a trap sometimes. It can do amazing as well, but you know, can be a trap as well. Elves looking overpowered for sure. There are 2 semi-finalists so far. Very good stuff. That's a lot of Dowie, holy moly. It is indeed. It is indeed. Lizards didn't survive? No, unfortunately not. They went out in the first game. Mad Doc, if you're watching this, by the way, and you plan on hosting another faction war, let me know, man. I would definitely love to compete in it. It looks like the Quarrelers taking quite a bit of damage on their approach, as are the Dwarf Warriors. But again, these are relatively cheap troops. They don't care if you lose some Quarrelers. And that's what's so good about the low-tier Dwarvish troops, is they're very cost-effective, and at least in what they do. Yeah, Dwarf Warriors won't get you much value back, but they will hold the line, and that'll allow Thunderers and Quarrelers to really shine quite nicely. It looks like the Dwarfs will slowly be approaching. Trebuchet shots once again still going after Quarrelers. Will probably want to switch their focus fire to Thunderers when they can. Although there's not that much cavalry here for them to shoot at. I mean, Mournfang cavalry have 90 armor, I suppose. They can be whittled down by Quarrelers though, so yeah, maybe it's not a bad idea just to get rid of the Quarrelers, as they're going to be quite good as well up against the Peasant Bowmen. Particularly on a map like this, which has so many hills, it's a good idea to get those Quarrelers shooting up and over your opponent. Looks like the rocks are switching targets, aiming for the Dragonback Slayers. Again, not a bad target, and it would certainly sully their reputation and honour if you got killed by a rock and you're meant to be a Slayer. That is not a worthy foe. And it looks like 2 Dwarfs, unfortunately, have bit the bullet. Quarrelers have started to open up onto the peasant mobs. The Dwarf Warriors, again, really aggressive, actually pushing ahead of the rest of the build. I love the fact that the Ekron miners are moving forward, because we're going to see some fireworks for sure. Master Engineer is hunting down, it would seem, those paladins wherever possible, and he's driving away. But it looks like Mad Dog, certainly on top of his micro today, is going to be able to pull back away from the Engineer the most part. I was playing a really awesome game, Balthazar Gelt against Empire the other day, against Dwarf, sorry. And I was not doing this. His Master Engineer was roasting me. You can see, though, he does manage to connect with a pretty decent shot there. Dwarf Warriors will now be engaging with peasants all along the battle line, and the little dwarfs will certainly be able to slice and dice their way through the enemy. Mournfang cavalry been using a frontal charge there, running over the Dwarf Warriors. That's really quite a cool idea. Paladins as well, that Dwarf Warrior unit is just gone. The shock damage of the Mournfang cavalry certainly is very powerful. Ekron miners are now the focus of peasant archer fire as well. Mournfang cavalry unfortunately does get hit here with the flash bombs. They need to fall back because there's a lot of bow and thunder fire, which is just about to come their way. More shots do start raining up in the skies after the paladin, who was also caught in the flash bomb. Looks like both cavalry were slowed but are now up and running to full speed. And they're going to be the real heavy hammer here. And look at the Dwarf Warriors. They are not having a good time whatsoever. But the problem with this is there's so many Quarrelers left, which can just really dish the damage out. We do have healing, though, in the form of the Fey Enchantress. So a lovely little Earthblood going down the Mournfang Cavalry. Certainly wouldn't go amiss, particularly because they've taken a ton of damage, nearly half HP, but have all of their models. So healing them up would be really cost-effective right now. And it looks like that's just what we're going to be getting. Really smart idea. I'm a big fan of this Mournfang Cavalry play by the Bretonnians. That's really inventive. All four raiders are starting to push up, though, and the Dwarfs' march will continue here. They've taken some early losses, but Ungrim is hunting the Fey Enchantress's bouquet. He is in the mood for some Elvish, or not Elvish, she's just not Elf, right? She is a human, I believe, just a mystical human. He's in the mood for some human action. And he's going to be charging. She's floating away as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, poor Ungrim won't be able to catch. But the Paladins, they've gone in for a risky charge here. They do some massive burst damage, though, onto Ungrim. Oh my god, look at his health just drip off him. Taking that charge was really bad for him. Paladins will be able to dish out some pretty heavy damage. And you can see how far Ungrim has overextended right now in front of the rest of his build, who is kind of lagging behind quite badly here, though the Dwarf Warriors have started to force their way through the peasant mobs in the front line. Ungrim is now down to about half health, but he has started to turn and engage finally on the Paladin, who has lost some of its armor as well. A well-placed mark by Ulfar, plus those thrown axes coming in, and I can tell you guys, look at how quickly the Paladin dies. These thrown axes are mean. If they connect on certain targets like this, they will just disappear single entity targets, and one Paladin that has been dealt with, Ungrim as well, of course, Aiden, but those axes come in are destroying the Paladins and saving Ungrim's life. He would be dead right now if it wasn't for those thrown axes, and it looks like Mad Doc knows this. Mournfang Cavalry do charge headlong into the enemy, trying to break them up, and they've done a really good job, the Cavalry, but there is Thunderers here, and Dragonback Slayers are going to work as a buffer, forcing them back, or to their doom. We do see some rocks come through, aim at the Dwarvish back line. Ungrim Iron Fist is still alive somehow, just charging headlong through once again, past the Foot Squires. They're not a worthy foe for him. He's really hunting down the cavalry where possible, but unfortunately he does have to stop to deal with these lesser beings. Thunderers on the left-hand flank have managed to maneuver around the train rather nicely, and you can see the Foot Squires, though they're treading effectively into the Dwarf Warriors, are being pinned in place. A rather lovely fiery ring does go down, not quite perfectly placed, but still doing good damage to the peasant bowman. And Ungrim seems like he may well die here, down just 146 HP. Paladin might want to swoop in and finish him off, because the Foot Squires, how much speed do they have? 28 up against the 32. The fleet-footed Ungrim should be able to escape this. He's actually baiting back all the Foot Squires into bow and gun fire, but he needs to be careful. He's taking a bit of friendly fire as well, and Ungrim would never forgive them if he went down to friendly fire. This is so risky. Look at his HP, 81, although the Foot Squires may well break as well. The Dwarf left-hand flank has started to collapse. Thunder is being forced back, likewise our Dwarf Warriors. Paladin doing a fantastic job shutting down the ranged core on this left-hand side. This is a way closer game than it has any right to be. The Bretonnians have fought tooth and nail to try to upset the odds here. Mournfang Cavalry are rummaging around the back lines. Looks like they're going to try and pin in these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. One field trebuchet has been shut down. The other two look like there's most likely going to be able to use up all of their ammunition. Maybe not this one, actually. The Dwarfs have kind of swung around with a flank overload on the left-hand side, and the Bretonnians have tried to counter it by hitting the other side as hard as possible. And now we have Foot Squires amongst Thunderers, but with a flash bomb going down, they have zero melee defense, and Thunderers are no slouches in combat. Once again, the cavalry is going to push up into the Thunderers, going to catch them unawares and do some really nice damage, charge straight on through them into the Quarrelers, and Dwarfs are exploding in puffs of mucus and blood right now. Paladin still going firm. Fey Enchantress as well, trying her best here up against the Dwarf Warriors. Some peasant archers have formed a protective wall around their trebuchets, trying to get value from them where possible. Dwarf Warriors are in a perfect formation right now for bow fire and trebuchet fire. We still have 6 rounds of ammunition left. 1 unit of Foot Squires are on babysitting duty. Paladin, unfortunately, has been forced off at the moment. That's a lot of the punch of Bretonnia kind of dealt with. Mournfang Cavalry have been forced back. Bant's power for the first time in the battle slightly slipped into the favour of the Dowie. Foot Squires dispatch 1 unit of Thunderers, are moving up to the next. Unfortunately, a few of them are getting shot down here. Man, Foot Squires have such cool models with the shields on their back and so forth. And they are going to engage with the Thunderers and should be able to dispatch them with relative ease. As I say that, they're about to break because the Quarrelers, they got your back, bro. Ungrim has been a little bit disrespectful in his Slayer Oath, and he's just chilling at the back. But I guess he's like, yeah, none of these Bretonnians are worthy of my death. 81 HP, just about survived. If he had got sniped earlier on by those paladins, this could have been a very, very different game. But at the moment, it is looking like the Dwarfs are pretty favoured. But the Fey Enchantress is taking quite a big pounding right now, with the Thunderers firing from the flanks. We have Quarrelers, we have the Master Engineer, and she is isolated and alone. She's trying to sort of make the Dwarfs bunch up on her, so that Field Trebuchet can get in and do some decent damage, and that last shot did connect. Ungrim is moving up. He needs to be a little careful because his HP is going to be getting drained as he moves in on the Fey Enchantress. Down to 53 HP, but he breaks her. Ungrim, the man, the Dowie, the myth, the legend, may actually die here. Down to 26 HP, just as I say, that Fey is broken. Does she still drain when she's running away? She does! No way! Or is it just friendly fire? I don't know. Does she still drain? No, she doesn't. Okay, it was friendly fire. Oh my god. The Dwarfs nearly killed Ungrim. Down to just 5 HP. She's dead though. Ungrim lives. 5 HP madness. There is still a full health unit of Squires guarding this flank. They probably would have been better pushing with the remainder of the army. And just, you know, if the Dwarf wants to trudge units all the way out here to do the Trebuchet, then so be it. The Foot Squires are making a bit of a last stand, but there's so many Dwarfs left along the battlefield. Peasants are 360 no-scoping straight into the Dragonback Slayers and doing some really lovely damage to them, actually. But those Dwarf Warriors are great weapons here. There's the Master Engineer floating nearby. Field Trebuchet has 2 volleys left. Hopefully they can loose them into the enemy. A well-placed Scav Escape goes down on the Foot Squires, also catching the Peasant Bowman. Army losses is getting very close right now. The Dragonback Slayers will be able to engage with their foes, running through the trees, swinging those axes like mad lads, decapitating peasants, and it's going to be a bad day to be a peasant. It's always a bad day to be a peasant, but today is particularly bad, and it looks like they're going to break and flee for their lives, with the victory going in favour of the Dowie. A valiant defeat, a very, very valiant defeat though. I think the Bretonnia player played quite exceptional there in what is probably the worst matchup in the game for Bretonnia. I think. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's one worse. So I have a little sip of my drink. That is the good stuff. Very well played to Mad Doc Mike, the person who actually organised this faction war, hence the title, Mad Doc's Faction War. So give a massive round of applause to him in chat for being such a mad lad. And put on a really good display. Shogunek, though, will be moving through to the semi-final. Ungrim just about holding on and actually getting some decent damage value despite the early damage. Just want to quickly check. Oh my god, they didn't get that much damage value apparently. Interesting. Maybe Ungrim hit a bit harder than I thought, but it looked like the Ulfar Raiders really were nuking some of those Bretonnian characters. Yes. She does drain whilst running. That is mad. That is mad. I love your videos. Thank you, man. That's really appreciated. That's really kind of you to say. You going to represent the Duck Lizards, of course. Rubber Duck, I got no abilities. God to Adam and Eve. Who told thee that thou art naked? Rubber Duck, I got no abilities. I love that. I love it. I cannot believe Ungrim survived either. How on earth he did. I mean, that paladin play, if they had sniped him instead of getting hit by the Ulfar Raiders, if they weren't in the correct position, that's probably game over. So, we will go for the damage dealt, damage value in just a second. I am very quickly going to download the new replays. I didn't want to download them before, so we're going to have High Elves versus Skaven next, and then we have Dwarfs versus Nagarythe, which is pretty exciting stuff. So let's quickly download these replays. It will take simply a momento. I am thinking of doing a guide on YouTube of how to submit replays. I don't know if that's something people want to see. But yeah, a lot of people I think don't know how to submit replays or view their replays in on their disk drives, you know. So I was thinking of doing that, but I don't know if that'd be useful for people. Cool. So it should be loaded in now. And we'll do the vote. So what did I say was first? What did I say is first? So we're going to start with High Elves versus Skaven. So let's get the vote up. So it's going to be Human Boy. He's a notoriously dangerous opponent. So I'm going to be very interested to see what he tries here. So, who will win? We have High Elves and Skaven. It'd be such a shame. There's 2 High Elves in the semi-finals. If neither of them got to the final, it would be an absolute joke. So let's ask that poll there. Yes, yes. Thank you for the event, Mad Dog. Yes, exactly, Human Boy, man. Mad Dog, yes. Share all the love. I don't know if he's actually still in chat. But yeah, hopefully he does receive the love. Because I really appreciate people putting on these type of events. It's very cool. Thanks for organising, Mr. Mike. It's been good fun so far. So yeah, share the love, man. Share the love. Cool. So let's hop in here and check out the damage dealt and damage value. So, Fae Enchantress, only 232 despite her drain effect. Again, magic damage, not good against the Dwarfs, but Fae probably is still your best pick here. The drain can do good work, and of course healing is always nice, particularly when you have double Paladin, who initially did some good work, 750 and 413 damage value. If they had assassinated Ungrim when they had, and the Dwarfs get that massive negative to their leadership, maybe the Mournfang cavalry could have carried the day, but alas it was not to be, and Dwarfs are stubborn creatures. It's not quite the same as when you assassinate, say, a Skaven leader, a lot of their forces run away. If you assassinate a Dwarf leader, it's only going to make them swear a load of oaths and grudges against you and come to kill you. First squires did pretty solid, it would seem, the first 2 units at least. 616 and 608 damage value. Pretty good kills as well, 105 and 85. The other units fared much worse, though, failing to pay for themselves and not getting anywhere near as many kills. The Peasant Bowman with Pox Arrows did good. 629 and 558 damage value, certainly not too shabby. Mournfang Cavalry was used amazingly, so the damage value is not going to be crazy because they're only killing Dwarf Warriors, but they really broke that first wave of Dwarf attacks, getting 477 and 577 damage value, so not paying for themselves, which is always a bad sign, but they held the Dwarfs in bay a little while longer. As for the Field Trebuchets, 862, 885 and 802 damage value, certainly not terrible. As for Shogunix forces, Ungrim, 1104 damage value is very good considering he basically got assassinated at the beginning and still managed to get that much work done. The Master Engineer, 1230, good sniping, just consistent pressure up on those paladins, and at the same time the firing clears out chaff. Some good use as well of those flash bombs. Dwarf Warriors got annihilated, of course, by the Cavalry. Great Weapons fared quite a bit better. 873 damage value here. Probably did shut down a Trebuchet or 2. Ekron Miners only 249. Dragonback Slayers 928. But 181 kills. The added speed, kind of making them turn them almost into Dwarvish Cavalry to hunt down the back line, was quite nice. The Quarrelers, oh my god. 815 damage value, 1,273, 639, 528. Thunderers, not quite on the same level. Those first colour Quarrelers, they were mad lads today. Ulfar Raiders, a very respectable 819 damage value. More importantly, getting rid of those pesky Paladins and saving Ungrim Iron Fist. High Elves are just too goated, says Potato. I love it. I gave a vote after the heart. I love it. Vote with your heart, people. Vote with your heart. So I'm going to take a little sip of my drink here. We've been rattling, because this replays, I'm not used to there being no downtime, so I keep forgetting to, like, drink and stuff. So I'm going to have a little drink. Now is your last time to vote in the mighty poll. That is the good stuff. I'll make sure the replays have come through. They have indeed come through. So we're going to be going at High Elves versus Skaven first, and then popping on for Dwarfs versus Nagarythe. Now, hopefully this isn't... There's a few maps at the moment which are bugged, and I don't think they're bugged for everyone, so hopefully these aren't on one of those maps. Do there be player versus player? Yeah, this is player versus player. Oh no, wifey is coming with food. What to do? Eat and watch at the same time. Hello, Knighthood's wife, by the way. Very nice to meet you. Hopefully you will one day play Total War Warhammer as well. It's current year. The mad YouTubing maniac Hellebron Simp himself coming with Moo. Unfortunately, Beastman got knocked out round 1. And we're going to be hopping into this one. So it is, again, Mr. Tefel. I've said his name like 50 different ways so far, but Mr. Tefel versus Human Boy. Let's see who you guys voted on and thought was going to win. It looks like Skaven's ahead. I'll end the poll quickly. It's semi-time. Let's go, says Victor. Looks like he's pumped up. He is leading the forces of the High Elves today. And you guys, 60% Skaven, 39% High Elves, 1% probably for our Fallen Beastmen. I'm sure that was its current year voting for them. And yeah, that's going to be pretty exciting stuff. So Skaven are the dominant faction, it would seem, at least in your guys' minds. So let's hop in here and see how it goes. Yes, yes. And we do a tech list this time, so we're mixed up with the different characters. If you guys remember round 1, which we streamed last Friday, there was probably the best ever tech list play I've seen in my life, with Fiery Convocation getting like 2,000 damage value or something insane. Human Boy, though, looks prepared. Oh my god, he's bringing these guys. They're like armor-piercing Poison Wing Globadiers. They're so unused, I don't even know the name off the top of my head right now. The map seems to work, and it's another interesting map. Okay, the lake's doing a weird shimmering thing. Does that happen if it's on... Okay, no, it's only on, like, slow-mo. We have some beautiful elvish architecture in the background, with some lights going over top, and this makes sense considering we have 2 elvish forces in the semi-final at the moment, plus a... Oh my god! Okay, I was, like, gushing over that. Oh, look at this right behind us. There's a giant castle right here. Is that a love heart? That is awfully badass, in fairness. So the power of love is on the side of the High Elves, but the power of the dark Skaven gods, the great horned rat, is in the forces of Skaven. What's up, Cat Morgan, king of all ducks? How are you today, champion? Deathglow Bombardiers, there you go. There you go. I am all factions main, but I hate dwarfs. I hate dwarfs. Well, dwarfs have made it through so far to the semi-final, but we'll see them next game. So, in the front line we have Rangers. We've seen how deadly these boys can be already today, slicing and dicing their way through cheap infantry, and Skaven have plenty of that. We have Archers as well. Archers very good in this matchup, though Mortars do counter them quite nicely. I like to see it Spirit Leech spam personally to try to deal with those pesky Mortars. We have Silver Helms in the back alongside Illyrian Reavers, so a decent cavalry contingent to force their way into the enemy back line. Double Noble on horseback. They should be able to dispatch some of the larger creatures that Skaven can bring, but you need to be careful. They are very squishy. Only 4,176 HP, 100 armor, 60 melee defense. It all sounds very good, but if they get isolated, even Rat Ogres really can drag them down. We have Teclis coming in with Regrowth, Enfeebling Foe, and Net of Amantok, and he does have Fiery Convocation. I hope he tries to pull that off again on something like Council Guard. So for the forces of Skaven, we have a bucket ton of just smelly Skaven slaves dotted all the way through the front line. This is a real Vermintide style build. Clan Rats taking the high ground, backing up the remainder of the forces, and sitting on the slope we have Warplock Jezzails, 2 units in fact, no Natty Bobus however. We have Poison Wind Mortars, we have the Avalanche Mortars, which are the Regiment of Renown version, really can do some lovely burst damage, and they have some really fun animations. A lot of the Skaven weapon teams do. We have 2 units of the Deathglow Bombardiers. Interesting to see why he picked these ones. They do come in with armor piercing, but at the same time, the normal ones are so amazingly cost-effective. But I guess if you got the spare money, they are going to be better up against cavalry. With a Grey Seal of Rune in the back here, coming in with Scorch and Unholy Clamour, the dreaded 13th spell, which I love to see, and Howling Warp Gale, a nice pick just in case your opponent's gone in the air, and a Plague Priest, no doubt coming in with Summons. Yeah, we have Vermintide and Pestilent Breath. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. Rangers do have a relatively spread out formation, so these type of attacks don't do as much work to them as it will do on units like the Archers, but you can see it's still pretty devastating, coming in and doing some awesome work here. The Rexio Gaming, well, this is going to go poorly for the Elves. There's a lot of shots right here, and the Rangers are being eviscerated at the moment. We're probably seeing early summon. We are. So Clan Rat Summon has gone down in front of the Skaven build. He's now going to use this just to slow down the Rangers. It's going to work as like a speed bump to pin these guys in place as long as possible, because of course Skaven Slayers won't be able to tussle with Rangers for too long. One unit already has been forced off though, and that mortar is just blowing up the Archers. Both units are taking considerable damage right now. The Deathglow Bombardiers, Deathglow Mortars I should say, are now starting to take pressure from the Archers, which is good target priority so far from the High Elf player, and we may see a Scorch come down and a Fiery Convocation looking to try to roast the front line. It's only been used on Skaven Slaves, but it completely roasts that unit, allows the Rangers to pour through. Unfortunately, they've actually routed despite having so much HP, and this is just a dagger. The High Elves have been eviscerated on the approach. Look at these Reavers. They didn't even get close. Look how many bodies are lined up right now. Archers trying their best. Rangers need to start swooping around the flanks. Now we do have Silver Helms who are flooding from the trees, and they're going to get a nice downhill charge here. Need to force their way through onto Deathglow Bombardiers. They can't afford to get pinned up like this, and it looks like they're just about going to be able to get through. That's really good micromanagement by the High Elf player. The Stormwoman has been summoned, the Dreaded 13th spell, being used to force back Silver Helms. Net of Amatok does come in though, pinning that summon in place, where hopefully they will just disappear into the night. Both nobles have forced their way into the back line, looking to hunt down the Warplock Jezzails, with only 2 elves at the end of the day, and it's looking pretty bleak for the Elvish forces already. Bounce power massively in favour of the Skaven. Rangers seem to be going down. There is a bit of a resurgence down here in the dip. The High Elves just compose themselves, looking to come back into the action, and the nobles are in a really dangerous situation. There's not too much that's perfect for dealing with them, to be honest, in this Skaven build, apart from units like the Warplock Jezzails, but they're kind of the ones being overrun by the nobles. There's so much friendly fire coming on down here to these Deathglow Bombardiers, and I absolutely love it. It's very Skaven-esque. Both the Plague Priest as well as the Seer seem to be in a top tier condition, and it looks like there was going to be another summon down there, but it was cancelled. Noble has been surrounded, regrowth popped on him, but now he's pinned in by the enemy. These sniper rifles are really starting to roast him. His horse is rearing up, it's in pain, it's not having a good time, and Balance Power's getting very close to armor losses right now. The mortars are going to be shooting at the resurgence of Rangers out on this left-hand flank, which is certainly a smart idea. Just get rid of them. You don't want any chance of reinforcements coming in. When you get an overcast Nev Ammon talking, oh, this is going to be beautiful. This is going to be beautiful. The glorious fiery convocation roasting its way through the Skaven build. It's only really killing clan rats and Skaven slaves and stuff, but it's enough to break a large portion of them right here. And the nobles are actually now gunning for this Grey Seer who's been hit by an enfeebling foe. The High Elves going out with an absolute bang here so far. Noble has caught the Grey Seer and should be able to dispatch him relatively fast. I mean, Grey Seers, particularly on this mount though, are pretty tanky with 100 armor and a lot of HP. And now this poor Noble is going to get hit 2-on-1. Big shots do come down on the Rangers. We're going to see a really well-placed Scorch come down. Oh, that is well-placed. Catching those Rangers, forcing them off. Bounce power is a bit more even now than it was a few seconds ago, and archers have returned to the field, trying to whittle down at some of these Deathglow Bombardiers as both the nobles hunt the enemy leader. If they can force him off the field, maybe there is hope, as it looks like Silver Helms are escorting a lot of the Skaven forces away from the battlefield. Man, the High Elves are really scrapping their way back into this one where possible, though the Warplock Jezzails being so healthy and so much ammunition is going to cause a big threat to these nobles. Nobles are just continuing the pursuit, going after the Grey Seer. Unfortunately, they don't have the best mass, so you can see they do get boxed in by clan rats relatively comfortably. And now it's one noble versus double war machine here with the Grey Seer as well as the Plague Priest. And nobles, yeah, they're a little bit squishy, so taking on 2 single entities like this can sometimes be a bit of a struggle. Looks like the mortars are just firing into the trees just for the hell of it. Actually, oh my god, look at the friendly fire. Look at the friendly fire. I love it. Just any damage on this noble will take it right now. I mean, if you do get hit by artillery, it gives you a negative to your leadership, right? So it wouldn't be the worst idea because the leaders aren't exactly close to breaking for the Skaven. Warplock Jezzails moving out to this left-hand flank, just looking to get into a better position to try to snipe out the nobles. Teclis has returned to the field once more. Noble trying his best to deal with the Deathglow Bombardiers. And it looks like the Poison Mortars as well find themselves in a scuffle with Teclis, who's up to 350 kills. This Noble really struggling quite now at the moment. Looks like he may get hit by a regrowth though. The High Elves are scrapping. The High Elves are scrapping. If they'd saved that first fiery convocation for now, imagine another net and all of this chaff gone. The nobles could simply snipe out the Skaven leadership, and they're doing a good job right now. This noble up to 12 kills. How much damage value does he have? He's really been a blanket on him. We'll look at the end of the battle, I suppose. It looks like he's getting hit with that regrowth. His HP is pretty happy. Noble in the distance is finishing off the Avalanche Mortars, but they've used up all their ammunition. And it looks like the Skaven weapon teams are just falling back into different directions. So they can obviously pick apart these units once the Skaven ground force gets forced back, if it does, which is unlikely. Yeah, the Plague Priest is falling back right now. Teclis going to start bomb rushing over to the Deathglow Bombardiers, who are up to 153 kills. Not bad whatsoever. Noble being focused down by the Warplock Jezzails. And look at that damage on the approach. I mean, he goes through the fire and the flames, this Noble. Should be able to shut down the Poison Wind, the Deathglow Bombardiers, sorry. But Teclis is going to have to finish off these Warplock Jezzails because that Noble is taking so much pressure. The other Noble, unfortunately, has no area of effect spells or anything, so he will be getting dragged down by just the Vermintide, which is kind of the Skaven way. That's often how it goes. You know, these heroic heroes killing a ton of them, but at the end of the day, you can kill 1,000 rats, 2,000 is going to take their place. A regrowth does go down on the noble slightly too late, however, as he is already broken, but this hopefully will bring him back to the battlefield and keep him fighting. I'm loving the tenacity right now of the high elf player. Teclis is whipping his sword back and forth, trying his best to take down this unit of Warlord Elves, but they have used up... No, they've still got ammunition, actually. Unit on the left is now focus firing down Teclis where possible, and this has become a much closer game than it was before. Apologies for the siren going on outside my door. I do live right next to a hospital and a police station. Noble is surrounded. Again, a fiery convocation down here would be so good. It would be so good. All of its Skaven infantry would die. All of it would be dead. I'm so sad that he doesn't have another one. But the Noble is trying his best right here. We do actually have some Silver Helms who have come out of nowhere to rally to try to fish off the Warlord Giselles, but a well-placed attack there should break them. Teclis as well tried to draw the Grey Seer. I guess he was throwing everything at him there where he could, and unfortunately has been assassinated himself right now. And without Teclis, there's no hope for the Nobles. There's really no hope. He's forced off, he's routing. Army losses is about to set in as the Nobles get surrounded. And actually, this Noble on the left actually shattered and broke. There's a chain rout going on. This Noble was winning this ground fight, but the loss of Teclis is too much there. And that should be a victory. It'd be interesting to see what would happen if Teclis had survived. Because all the infantry started breaking and the Nobles up against the Grey Seer maybe could have done it. But well played to these two champs. That was an awesome game, man. I think using that fiery convocation, the first one, was a bit too early. If it saved it for the late game, maybe it could have been different. But well played to these two champs. Human Boy will be moving on to the final. We still have the next semi-final to come yet, guys. Don't worry. But the final, which will be best of 3, will be hosted on Friday, 6:30 PM BST, live here on the channel, which will be a best of 3. So Skaven have forced their way in to the finals. The first high elf of the two high elves in the semi-finals does bite the bullet, but my oh my, was that a scrap. Teclis, 1,287 damage value, 32k damage dealt, 355 kills is ridiculous. That is amazing. Why do Fire Mages get Sun Dragons, but the other laws get the stab amount? Because, Rex, there's actually another unit which they haven't added into the game, and that's working as it. So, there's something called a Dragon Mage on tabletop, which is basically a Fire Mage who can ride a dragon. So, instead of making a new mage and calling them a Dragon Mage, they're just like, oh, we'll just give the Fire Mage the mount instead. But yes, GG's. Skaven shall rise. Rise victorious. What's up, Chase? How's it going? Skaven for the win. Really important to do your map research on this map, for sure. For sure. Yeah, some of the maps, like, you need to practice on them a little bit. Yes, Will is correct there. GG, says Mark, I agree. So, before we get into the damage dealt, damage value, all that good stuff, let's add on the final poll. So, who will win? This is the last game of today's stream, I'm afraid, so it is your chance as well to like the video, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you'd like to support the channel, there's links down below to my Patreon and my Discord, all that good standard YouTube stuff. So up next, we have Nagarythe against Dwarfs. So this is traditionally very, very high elf favoured. And chat, I believe, is 3-1 correct right now. You've been 3-1 with your predictions. But Dwarfs versus High Elves. I love the Dwarfs. My heart is in the Dwarfs. But this is very High Elf favoured. Very, very High Elf favoured. Jumping in from Logic Stream. What's up, Logic? Quackity quack. Hope your tournament went well. What's up, Biblinton? Wicked D. Hello, hello. Down under Blunder. Nice to meet you, champ. Logic is indeed a super cool dude. I think he was streaming a sub-faction tournament today, maybe? I think so. And yeah, he's my housemate, which is pretty cool. What's up, Park Gorilla? Lovely to have you here. So, right now, we're actually getting into our final game. We're going to go through the damage dealt and damage value of all these units, but there is a vote up now on who you think will win the last of the semi-finals. So, Mr. Tefel, doing fantastic. Teclis, 355 kills, 32k damage dealt, only 1.2 damage value. He was clearing out chaff. The nobles, the one that was hunting the enemy boss the entire time, did get 1,171 damage value, which is really impressive work. The other 520. Rangers across the board really struggled, as did the Elvish archers. They just got focused down. Those mortars did disgusting work on them, and there was nothing left by the time they hit the front line. And even the Silver Helms with 168 kills, just 250 damage value. It's just Skaven slaves. Human Boy was trying to get rid of them. He was throwing them away. He's a full 20 stack, in fact. As for Human Boy, yes, our first finalist here today. 500 damage value on the big boy, the Grey Seer. 426 on the Plague Priest. And of course, the basic rats across the board, the Skaven slaves, the clan rats, basically get nothing. But they're here to hold the line. The Deathglow Bombardiers, 1,439 damage value, over 11k damage dealt, and 153 kills. That's good work. The other unit fared a bit worse. These guys are more expensive than the basic Globadiers, but 892, certainly still very good. 9,736 damage dealt, 127 kills. The Warlords Elves did good work, sniping down key targets all game. 1.2 damage value here. 2,300 on the second one. Oh, that's disgusting. The Poison Mortars, 143 kills, triple bronze chevron, 16k damage dealt, 1,400 damage value. Absolutely disgusting work, but not as disgusting as the Avalanche Mortars, the true chaff clearers. And when you're high elves, to be honest, your chaff's like mid-tier compared to everyone else's because they're so expensive. 16k damage value. Oh no, 1,600 I should say. 1,610 damage value. 19k damage dealt, 298 kills. That is a lot. Teclisaur Blood Man. Yeah, logic. You missed a fiery convocation. Last round as well. When we were looking at the... I don't know, but not the last round, not quarterfinal. The first round of this tournament, I saw probably the most disgusting Teclis fiery convocation, where he was deleting elite units. But here, he deleted a lot of the cheaper and more cheerful chaff, but still did good work for sure. Never going to cheer for the Dwarfs? Well, there's certainly going to be underdogs coming into this one. Gotta go now. It was fun to watch the March of the Azure and the downfall of in the semis. Thanks for showcasing, Duck. I hope I'll get back sometime to your streams. Hope so too, man. Catch you later, dude. You performed really well. Victor actually was the High Elves here today. But he did a good job. They shouldn't be in the thumbnail. Hopefully, unless the thumbnail's on that annoying thing where it's reverted to the old thumbnail. Let me check. Yep, it has. Awesome. I made a thumbnail for this, but sometimes YouTube switches it to the old one, so thumbnail has been changed. That's really frustrating. I hate it when it does that. Bound Fari. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was nasty. So, no, what are you guys doing? You guys are voting for the Dwarfs to win. This tournament was actually hosted by Mad Doc Mike, but I do host events and tournaments. I'm actually hosting one tomorrow. There's a link down below in the description to my Discord, and you can find loads of tournaments there. So you guys are actually voting for Dwarfs to win. I don't know what kind of drugs you guys are on right now, but whatever it is, I want it. 59% voted for Dwarfs, 40% for Nagarythe, 1% for Skaven somewhere, I'm sure. And yeah, that's odd, because High Elves are notoriously massive favourites in this matchup. Like, massive favourites. But Arkan, leading the force of Nagarythe, up against Shogunuk, who looks like he's actually part of the Aimer as well, which is kind of cool. And the Dwarfs. The good stuff. Yes, yes. Let's have a little sip of my drink before we load in, or as we load in. Boop. There we go. Oh my god, what are these builds? What are these builds? So we need an adult. We need an adult. What is going on? This is weird. These are two very weird builds. So it looks like, because they're allowed 2 ogres as well. The Dwarfs actually brought in some ogre mercenaries. I believe so have the Elves. These guys look like some absolute mad lads. So let's go through the builds quickly. I'm going to pause it because it could get underway rather quickly. Bring me the Dowie win. The Bugmans have gone to your head. This is a grudge that needs settling. I love it. I love it. So we have gyrocopters of Brimstone guns. It is going to be the Royal Dowie Air Force. Brimstone guns all the way along, including the Skyhammer. And the Elves, though, do have a lot of range support who could drag these guys down. There's a lot of Shadow Warriors, I think. We have 1 unit hammers in the back. Love to see them just hugging the ground here, getting ready to spring their ambush and their trap. And we have double ogres up on the high ground with their dual weapons. Look at them. They're so happy to be here. I mean, this guy looks a little confused at his own club. He's like, when did I get this? But the others seem like they're pretty much ready to rumble. We do have a Master Engineer down here with a Flash Bomb and Fiery Ring, once again with the Replenish Ammo. Looks like he's a big fan of that all round. Replenish Ammo really nice as well with the Skyhammer combo. We have Thoric Ironbrow leading the Dwarvish forces today, showcasing the newest Dowie Lord. Coming in with Rune of Speed, we have Rune of Negation and Rune of Doom. Locus of Power can be quite useful as well. Main battle line, semi-dwarf warriors with great weapons dotted all the way along, really looking to dish out the damage on the enemy. It's a fun build, it's a wild build as well, because the forces of the Nagarythe here, of course, will be coming with a load of skirmishers. We have double Shadow Warriors down here on the left, supported by Alefanar. In the, there is kind of no main battle line even. And then down here, we have a line chariots mixed in with a noble on chariot. These guys are kind of the bane of the Dwarvish forces, to be honest, and have been for a long time. They can really run for a lot of the infantry. Won't do much good up against the flying air force, however. So, triple Shadow Warriors on its right-hand side. The Shadow Warriors need to push with the chariots to support them and take apart the enemy. Looks like we have some more units hidden back here in the trees. We have a Mage of Life on a chariot, and then double Mournfang Cavalry. These guys, their AP, should be looking to bust into the enemy back line and run over any Dwarvish guns, but there aren't any, and that's kind of the problem here. They're all up in the sky, and I actually am a little bit scared for the Elves. A little bit scared. It's a good build, but these Shadow Warriors need to stick with the remainder of the army and protect them. Otherwise, it's going to be game over. The micromanagement is going to have to be on point by the force of Nagarythe. But another unit here who's going to be great against the Gyrocopters is Alefanar. You can see he's already done massive damage to this unit of Gyrocopters. What is this map? It is a mad map, and I love it. I love it. Oh my, wow, Elves might not make it to the finals. I mean, these are mad builds for sure. For sure. So Elves, both Elves made it to the semi-finals. We'll have to see if they make it to the finals. It will be Skaven in the finals, and I mean, that Skaven's really dreadful for Dwarfs. But again, so is this matchup, and they might be able to pull it off, who knows. Rogers have been a hit here, taking a considerable amount of damage. It looks like the Skyhammer and the Gyrocopters are taking a bit of punishment, but not losing any models on the Gyrocopters is pretty huge. This is going to be a long game, I feel, with a lot of kiting from the Elves, and it's going to have to be. Alefanar needs to be really careful with his ammunition to only pop it on the Gyrocopters and you know, when they're sitting still and stuff. This could be a lovely bait if the Dowie player isn't aware that this is a decoy and he starts wasting ammunition into decoy Alefanar. That could be huge, and you can see another shot does actually stutter the Gyrocopter there as the Shadow Warriors do start to fall back, at least for now. Dwarfs are going to be a little aggressive here, though, forcing forward with their army. However, there's more Shadow Warriors on this right-hand side, and normally this would be a great idea, right? Because they can get into the back line, but there is no back line. They need to be with this Elvish force in the distance, hunting down the Gyrocopters. Maybe swooping in with the chariots really aggressively will force some of them back and could be a good idea. But at the moment, the Elves are certainly on the run. We have bombing runs going down on the Shadow Warriors. We're trying to juke where possible. Alefanar as well, his decoy has unfortunately gone down here. The actual real Alefanar is doing some pretty good work. You can see the Gyrocopters taking pretty heavy losses right now. It doesn't matter. If you lose all your Shadow Warriors, but you kill the Gyrocopters, that's a good trade right now, because the chariots will kill the rest of the build. Shadow Warriors trying their best at the moment, but really getting annihilated. We are going to get an Earthblood coming down to try and keep them alive, but they lost 26. Well, they've only got 26 models, sorry, so they've lost quite a considerable amount already. Earthblood does not resurrect the dead. Mournfang Cavalry are retreating, trying to resituate so they can get behind these other Shadow Warriors. I think is a really smart idea. And you can see Gyrocopter with Brimstone Gun is now starting to take some long-range pressure. Shadow Warriors are, you know, vibing, doing their best little life here. Brimstone Guns are continuing to push, but that's one unit of Shadow Warriors basically done at the moment. Alefanar has used up a considerable amount of his ammunition. And does he do magic attacks? He doesn't. So he can go after Thoric, but again, the real threat here is in the air core. Dwarfs just pushing as one, moving as a solid force, which is 100% what you should be doing. Although, just as I say that, there's actually one unit of Dwarf Warriors kind of on their own here. Mournfang Cavalry wants to recharge his unit, get them off the field, because all of the Air Force is focused on the Shadow Warriors. Needs to take advantage of this. Move down with his chariots, and that's just what he's doing. Running over the Dwarf Warriors, doing some good work. Now, the Ogres are going to give good mass to the Dwarfs here to pin in chariots, so I quite like this pick. Maybe kind of a Great Weapons would be a good idea as well. But at the same time, Ogres are a little bit squishy and susceptible to bow fire. Shadow Warriors are doing some nice work. A lovely fiery ring. Oh, that was so well placed. The flash bomb to slow down the Shadow Warriors, knowing they would fall back. Yeah, that was some good work. Ogres, though, are being dispatched relatively comfortably. The other unit is, though, trotting in, and they're pretty quick. They're going to be able to engage with these Shadow Warriors and start clubbing them to death. And they need to keep on the move and get fire support with this secondary unit. Looks like some of the Gyrocopters have returned to try to focus down the Lion Chariots. 100% the good play by the Dwarfs. But a lot of their ground forces are in disarray. We have Ogres running for their lives. Dwarf Warriors being forced back as well. Thoric Ironbrow is surrounded right now. And a load of Dwarfs are completely out of position. They've been dragged away by the Elvish play. And the Gyrocopters starting to look a little weak right now. Gyrocopter Brimstone gone down to 2 models. This one still has all 3, luckily. Ammunition is starting to waver, and yes, you can replenish ammo, but only on 1 at a time, so, you know, it's not the be-all and end-all. Lion Chariots and Noble need to get back into the fight. Chasing off Ogres is great, but there's other duties that need to be performed, such as killing this Master Engineer would be a nice start. Shadow Warriors continue to kite and shoot around at the Gyrocopters, who one does explode and start to go down. Major of Life is alive, but all the Gyrocopters are now hunting down the Lion Chariots and this Noble. And this is a sticky situation, because the Shadow Warriors can't keep up with this air pressure, and there's no Chariots down here to punish the Dwarvish forces. So I think so far the Dwarves have got slightly better engagements, at least as far as their map control and their map positioning, though they almost got caught out, a lot of their forces being quite a long way away. And then you see the Major Life has just been assassinated, because there's no Shadow Warrior support. So these guys are just happily, freely firing in, and that is a big, big loss. In fact, the Mage is shattered right there. And now the Noble and Lion Chariots are going to have to try to fall back, and they didn't even get the prey of the Ogres. Shadow Warriors are firing in, though. Lots of low ammunition warning signs appearing at the moment on the Gyrocopter HUD. And Mornfang Cavalry trying to cycle charge right now, but the Shadow Warriors are out of ammunition pretty much. Aliphanar does some nice 360 no-scopes there into the enemy. Balance Power is slightly in the Dwarf favour. Although they have lost quite a bit of their punch, so have the High Elves. And the Noble is getting rinsed right now. There's no potential for healing anymore. Gyrocopters are wavering by the mere presence of the Shadow Warriors, though it looks like some Ogres have returned. And look how happy these guys are to run into battle. They're just so pumped. Pushing forward through the trees, hunting down the Shadow Warriors, who are being forced back and probably getting some pretty bad Vietnam-style flashbacks right now. Down on the low ground, we can see the Dwarfs are pushing out, surrounding the Shadow Warriors, though the Mornfang Cavalry is coming with a pretty thunderous charge. They do some really good shock damage, and Dwarf Warriors are going to break and buckle right now under the combined might of the elite Shadow Warriors and the more angry and aggressive Cavalry. Aliphanar continuing to try to focus down, it would seem, Thoric Ironbrow at the moment. Noble does clear off the remainder of these Ogres. Looks like the Gyrocopters are running out of ammunition, which is good news. 2 out of ammunition here. The other one only has like 1 volley left, but the Skyhammer has plenty of ammo. And remember, guys, there is still a Master Engineer left on the field. Mornfang Cavalry is doing some good cycle charging once again into the Dwarf Warriors. Rune of Doom has now dissipated and gone away from them. And it looks like the Mornfang Cavalry may be able to clear up the remainder of this infantry. There still is 61 Hammerers, though, and if Thoric can catch them, he can certainly do some good work as well. Shadow Warriors continue to kite with no ammunition. It's not looking too good for them. Noble and the Lion Chariots still relatively healthy, considering the amount of pressure that's being popped on them. Only the Skyhammer has ammo left. Shadow Warriors do seem to be moving forward to try to deal with that situation. Cavalry is going to continue to cycle charge where possible. This is a very, very close game so far. I'd say the Dwarfs are in a state of advantage, but when there's Lion Chariots and Noble Chariots left on the field, you can really never count out the High Elves, particularly up against the Dwarfs. And the, down to just 2 volleys. Master Engineer does seem to be trotting this way, and there we go, up to 10 volleys. So it does give him 8 ammunition. It does also replenish his bombs, although I don't think he's used any of them just about yet. And that poor little Noble is really being focused down right now. Only 5 kills so far by the Skyhammer, but up to nearly 2,000 damage value. Really been hunting down those key targets. Shadow Warriors need to use all the remaining ammunition on the Skyhammer and try and force it off the field, otherwise it will solo the remainder of the build. Dwarf Warriors and Weapons have broken here, it seems, though so have the Shadow Warriors. And Aliphanar is out of ammo, up to 59 kills. We are popping a decoy just to try to distract some of these Dwarf Warriors, no doubt. Balance Power is now starting to move more and more in the favour of the Dwarfs. One Gyrocopter did land just to get a bit of melee combat. And look how low health it is. 358 HP and still has all 3 models alive. That is absolutely gnarly. The Skyhammer, though, is still alive and active. Nearly used up all its ammunition once more. Is going after the Mournfang cavalry now. Not a bad idea, though. There are chariots left alive, including the Noble. Oh, this is so close. He needs to kill this Master Engineer to stop the replenishment. If these chariots can now float up and over, assassinate the Master Engineer, I think the High Elves would actually be in a state of advantage. But they're not doing that right now. And the Skyhammer is doing some lovely, lovely work right now. Although the cavalry is still alive at the moment. What's that coming over the hill? Is it a monster? It is indeed. It is the Lion Chariots. They are going to start swooping downwards, but the Master Engineer has found himself in a nice little pocket here, falling back once more to friendly territory, and he needs to be killed. He is the biggest problem at the moment. We do have some ogres in the distance who can return to the field as well for the force of the Dwarfs. Chariots looking to run over the Hammerers, who are currently hiding in trees. Do Lion Chariots have Strider? They do not. Okay, I think that's just the basic lines do. But still, look at that burst damage. They just wreck Hammerers, do some good work. Even Alifanar is trying to get involved in at the moment over here. But the Noble also has some... Oh, not Noble, sorry. The Master Engineer, sure he wouldn't be too happy being called a Noble, does do really good long-range pressure chariots as well, if he can focus fire down the Noble. And it looks like the Skyhammer, once again, has been given more ammunition. That's the second time this battle. And it's focused down the Noble, who has been hit by a flash bomb. He can't escape, and this is going to spell doom, I think, to a rather valiant effort from the High Elves. But if they lose their Noble like this, they have no more stopping power. They're losing the chariots to the Hammerers. That is such a nice use of the flash bomb, allowing the Hammerers to actually get into the action with a Rune of Doom popped on them. Not much damage value on those guys, but killing the key target there, which is the Hammerers. Noble has fallen back up the hill. Shadow Warriors are trying to move in, but this Master Engineer being alive as long as he's been alive is what's won this game for the Dwarfs, and they're certainly going to win it with the Lion Chariots going down in massive bouts of explosions. I don't know how they explode when they're lions, but who knows? I'm not a liontologist. Who knows? Maybe they explode when they die. What's up, dog? How's it going, man? Hope you're all good. But it is a Pyrrhic victory for the Dwarfs, and you cannot get much more Pyrrhic than that. And that means the Dwarfs will be moving on to the finals, which will be taking place live on the channel this Friday at 6:30 PM BST, up against Human Boy, yes, and his Skaven forces. So a terrible matchup for the Dwarfs, but they just had one up against the High Elves and came out victorious. Well played to these two mad lads. Sugarnook did good work indeed. Arkin as well tried his best. I actually don't hate his build. It certainly can do some good work. But I think moving, like, just not killing the Master Engineer was the problem. Not killing that Engineer was a big problem. What's up, Human Boy? Yes. Saying hello. I feel like you've been here the entire time, so I don't know. Oh, you're saying hello to dog. Man, this sucks. No High Elves to final, and now Skaven has easy victory. Man, people say this was an easy victory right now for High Elves, but Sugarnook proving them wrong, and it is a best of 3. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys do take that challenge. So Sugarnook performed really well here. Thoric Ironbrow coming in with only 486 damage value, but his runes are always very useful. Master Engineer the MVP, simply because he kept replenishing the ammo on the bomber, and if he had died early, if Arkin had managed to assassinate him, the Elves would have won. The Elves certainly would have won. All the ammo was out, but the Skyhammer got more ammo, killed the Noble, got more ammo, killed the Mage, killed the Lion Chariots. He carried the day. Oh, it's certainly not over at all. Yeah, it is not over. The Dwarf Warriors did not too much, but as kind of to be expected. Likewise, the Hammerers here. The Ogres were nice just because they hunted and applied a lot of pressure, but again, not much value from them. It really was all or nothing from Shogunuk here, going with the Air Force. 800 damage value, 1,170, 1,013, 661, and 2,919 damage value. 16 kills, 9,967 damage value. Really good play by the Bomber. What will be the maps for the finals? I do not know yet. I've been a big fan of the maps, so they've been interesting ones for sure. As it will be best of 3 as well. As for Arkin, Alifanar, 60 kills, 1.5k damage value, not too shabby. It was a good answer to the Brimstone guns. He did some good work. The Mage, unfortunately, only 50 damage value, getting caught out and assassinated. One big problem was moving the chariots without the Shadow Warriors to support, I think. They needed to be nearby to at least apply pressure to the gyrocopters. But that's easier said than done, because the Noble only 300 damage value as well. Shadow Warriors got 685, 589, 1,289 damage value, 1,235, and 1,028. So, not too bad across the board. for the majority of the Mornfang Cavalry. They never seem to get much value, but they do good shock damage and broke a lot of the Dwarf units off, which is a good play by them. And the Line Chariots, 624. Really good fight, though. Arkan had a fantastic tournament, getting through, I believe, 3 rounds. Or is it the 3rd round? Yeah, this is the 3rd round, right? Yeah, he got all the way to the 3rd round. Did a very good job indeed. I think these maps throw a wrench in the current meta and its profession. I agree. They're pretty cool. They're very cool. I'm liking the maps quite a bit. So, the final, again, will be on Friday, and it will be live streamed. Very excited for that, but that's us done for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you want to support, there are links down below to my Patreon and my Discord where you can get involved in events and tournaments like this. But before you go, I need your guys' help. I need you. We're going to jump into someone else's stream and do a bit of a raid. It looks like Turin will be streaming, but in about 15 minutes he's doing some campaign. Looks like Dame Offensive is currently streaming right now. She's a really cool person, a really awesome content creator who's not super new to the scene, but relatively new. So I'm going to pop you over there, and feel free to go over. You don't have to stay long, but just pop over and say quack, do a little bit of raid. I do like raiding people. It's just, it's fun. You get to see some more content as well. It is campaigns, so it might not be everyone's thing, but just pop over there, say quack, and then you can disappear into the sweet night once more. Hope you guys enjoyed. That was super fun. I'm loving the Faction War content. Let me know down below in the comments under the video as well if you would like me to host my own Faction War at some point. Maybe with a twist or two on it as well, because I haven't done one before, and it's, yeah, it's been really good fun so far. So anyway, guys, until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay